There we go. Well, welcome, y'all. Good evening. My name is Whitney or Whit Garner. I'm located in Durham, North Carolina, where it is a balmy 81 degrees here at 8 p.m. in the evening. So the first of a couple of sessions tonight. The first, welcome to this May 22nd date. We are going to start by talking about how to make the most of those last couple of weeks before the real exam and some tips I have for you for those 2 weeks and for test day to some like learning science stuff, by the way. So this will be fun. This will be a lot of fun. So first things first, let's look at this kind of like broader, what are we going to do with the 2 weeks/3 weeks before your exam? So let's pretend, shall we, so here we are on the 22nd. And so tomorrow will be what is that? 23rd? Monday the 23rd. Oh my goodness. How are we this far into the year, y'all? How does this happen? All right, so let me get a little calendar up on the screen for us so that we can have something to mark about. And let me share my screen. So here we go. If I put our calendar up, let's pick a fake test date so that we can kind of chat about what those steps would be. There we go. All right. So tomorrow is the 23rd. So at 8 o'clock here on the East Coast, I'm going to go ahead and assume that most of the US and definitely anywhere to the east of us is done studying for the day. We're headed off into work for the week. So let's pretend that you are scheduled for a real exam. I'm going to give us 3 weeks. All right. So let's pretend that you're scheduled for your official exam on the 11th. So we got June 11th out here, official exam. And let's see. So Sarah, what time was your exam? Well, it may not be on that Saturday, but what time of day is that exam? 10 a.m. Okay, great. So let's imagine that an exam, right? We're going to pick a time, is a 10 a.m. exam. And are you taking the exam in person or at home? Because we'll do both, but let's start with the one that you're doing. In person or at home? You're taking it in person. Awesome. Okay. So a couple of things will need to happen in these final 3 weeks. And so I want to build us kind of like a list of all the things that we need to be doing in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the exam. And so some of this is going to feel very much like first day of school kind of stuff. So step one, we need the exam center logistics. And so this is a little bit of research. If you have not been there before, you're going to go to the actual exam center. Okay. So you're going to drive there. You are going to figure out where you're supposed to park. And you're going to go during the hours that they're open because you're going to go in, you're going to find the exact office. Then you're going to go into the office and say, hey, I'm not trying to trouble you. I just wanted to make sure that I knew how to find the location on test day. I didn't want to be frantic. And then, okay, these are the lockers. Okay, can you point me towards the restrooms? So you're going to get the lay of the land. So you're going to drive to the exam center, figure out exactly how long it takes you to get there. Make sure you've been there before, you know what the building looks, whatever. You're going to find where you park, where to go once you get in the building. Some places are super easy. You pull right up and you're sitting in front of it. Here, where I am, the exam center is usually inside of an office building that's inside of an office park. So it can be really useful to get there and actually find it. The first time I took a GMAT at a test center here in the Raleigh-Durham area where I am, it was a nightmare to find. I couldn't figure out where to park because it actually shared a parking lot with a local police station. And so the entrance that I came into was police parking only. And so I didn't know where to go. And of all the places to not illegally park, right? You don't want to park illegally in a police station. So it was like a dispatch unit or whatever. So I was like wandering around aimlessly. I didn't realize that the parking lot where I came in was on the second floor technically. And that around the backside or a block around the building was the actual parking lot for the lower entry, which is where I was meant to go. So it was like a whole headache. So we don't do that, right? So step one, you're going to go to the exam center. You'll figure out where it is, where to park, go inside, figure out where the room is. From there, you'll figure out where the restrooms are. So you'll know how everything works. Okay. That's the easiest one. You can do that anytime. So even if your exam is in 3 or 4 days, you can do that. But you could do that, 3 weeks out, a month out, however far out. Once you have your test date scheduled, you can go. All right, so step one, we get your exam logistics. All right, let's say your exam is 2 weeks from now. If you have not been doing so already, or even a week from now, your job is to start to get your circadian rhythm to match what you want for test day. So the next thing we need is to get our, well, I'll say circadian rhythm, but there's all kinds of rhythms we want to get. Circadian, I think that's how you spell that. That sounds good. H-Y-T-H-M, I think that's how you spell that word too. So we want to start to get our circadian rhythms moving, which means we need a good bedtime routine. We need to figure out what time we're waking up in the morning, and then we need to get what that morning routine looks like. So circadian rhythms, I need to start establishing good bedtime hygiene. So that would be things like trying not to have a phone in bed scrolling, not watching a lot of television right before bed, getting the lights more dim in my house as the day goes on. We'll talk a little bit about lighting to help you with this like sleep wake cycle. We'll talk about that in a second. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get myself waking up as much as I can without an alarm at the time that I need to wake up on test day. Right? So that's my goal, is to get these circadian rhythms in place. And part of your circadian rhythm isn't just sleep, it's also hunger. Right? When am I going to be hungry? When does my body want to eat? And so I want to decide, okay, on test day, here's when I'm going to eat. Right? Here's when I like to eat before my exam. And so I want to make sure that that's the time that I'm eating pretty consistently, like within 15 to 20 minutes every single day, because I want my body to signal like I am hungry and ready to digest at like whatever time that happens to be in the morning. Because I don't want to have my hunger off from the time that I'm actually going to be able to eat, because my test will start and then I've got 3.5 hours where I'm only really going to get a snack. So I'm trying to kind of get my head wrapped around, right, if I'm going to have breakfast, here's where I'm going to have it. If I'm not going to do breakfast, then I need to have snacks at roughly the same intervals as the real exam. So speaking of which, let's talk about what the exam itself is going to look like. So let's look at the morning of, or in this case, it's 10 a.m., but whatever time it is, what time you're going to go take the test. So the big picture of the exam, you'll have 3 options for which you can choose on test day. And this is both in person and at home. So your options are to either do the essay and integrated reasoning first, the quantitative section first, or the verbal section first. Regardless of which one you do first, about an hour into the test, you'll get your first break. So you'll get to the test center. It'll take about 15 to 20 minutes to get you logged in. I tell people to get to the test center about 30 minutes early, because there's some other stuff you're going to do. So you'll get there about 30 minutes early, which means whatever time, that 10 a.m., let's say, you're going to get to the test center at 9:30. Okay, so you will arrive at 9:30, meaning you will not have been able to have any breakfast later than that. Right, so you need to start thinking, is eating breakfast at 9 o'clock going to be okay? Or will I be in the middle of digesting something too heavy for test day? Do I need to eat something at 8? Should I maybe have something very light, but at 8:30, and then trust my snacks and then have a full meal at 2 o'clock when I'm done with the exam? Because the exam, if we kind of go back and look, the exam is about 3 hours plus login, plus breaks, plus instruction screens. So you're really looking at a test that's the better part of 4 hours. So if your test is meant to start at 10, assume that you will not be eating again until 2, full meal. You'll be able to have snacks during your break, but you won't be having a meal until 2. Okay, so you'll have an hour of the exam, and then you'll get your first 8-minute break. But side note, this 8 minutes is not going to be 8 minutes, especially not in a test center. The person has to come, log you out of the computer, and walk you out, scan you out of the room. And then you have to be scanned back into the room and back to your computer. And all of that will eat up, I'd argue, at least 3 minutes. So for your break, you're only looking at about 5 minutes. So we're talking a very small snack, right? We are not shoveling food down, because you very likely could make yourself nauseous. But we are going to have a snack and something to drink during your breaks, but it's going to be minimal. So as you start to bring together this kind of circadian cycle, let's go again to this 10 a.m. So we'll assume that you get to the test center at 10 a.m. And then, Sarah, since we're working on your fake test, which section did you decide you're going to do first? Are you going to do the SAIR? Are you going to do verbal? Or are you going to do quant? Okay. Some advice there. All right. So here's my advice. It doesn't actually matter. Whichever one sounds better. That's the real truth. But what I would say is whichever is your strength, that's where you'll want to start. The one exception, if you have a strength that's just so strong that it doesn't matter how tired you are, you will always be amazing at it, then maybe you don't do it first. Maybe you let it come in and sweep, right? That said, since you're saying you're strong in verbal but weaker in quant, I might still suggest doing verbal first because it'll give you a good kind of ease into the test because it's an area that you like or that you feel better in or you feel stronger. So hopefully that can then carry over into some confidence for the quant section, right? And yeah, you'll be a little more tired for quant, but given that you're stronger in verbal, you might be a bit more efficient in verbal. And so you'll have used up your energy in verbal early, but hopefully you will use less energy than if you were to put quant first. That is not only a weakness, so emotionally it might not feel great to do that first. You won't be able to get much of a warm-up for quants. That might make it even rockier. And the amount of effort that you'll expend working on quant, especially as a weakness, means that you'll be very depleted for verbal. So I would suggest in your case that you start with verbal. Right? Quant is my strength, and I always do quant first. Even though it makes me a little tired for verbal, I don't care. I would just rather do quant first because it makes me feel good about the world by doing it. So your test starts at 10 a.m. We're going to assume that you're going to start with verbal first. So a couple of things, right? So let's back up your day, and I'll actually we'll do our whole little schedule out. All right. So you will arrive at the test center at 9:30. Okay. You will take with you all the stuff. So let's get I'll add this to the list. We got to get our circadian rhythms, which we're about to include in this. We also need our first day of school bag is what I call this, right? So your first day of school bag is going to have your ID. It'll have your printout of your registration. So you'll have that with you so you can show them if there are any questions they can't find you in the system. You'll have your snacks. You'll have your beverages. You'll have a light jacket or some kind of layer that you can, take on and off as needed, depending on the test center itself. You'll have your clothes picked out, right? So you'll know what you're going to wear that's comfortable. If you're going to have glasses or contact lenses, if you wear contact lenses, contact lens solution, extra pair of contacts if you use dailies. And then you'd also want, a contact lens cleaner so that if you get something in one, you can go to the bathroom and clean out the lens. Right. So your extra pair of lenses, if you do wear dailies or anything like that, lenses, other things that you would want, ladies, right? Anything that you might need depending on what time of month it is, right? So make sure you have plenty if you're expecting or not expecting, just make sure you've got stuff there. I also like to bring and put in my locker, it's in my little school bag, some Tylenol, some Pepto-Bismol chewables, or some Tums, or anything that gives you for antacid or, indigestion, anything like that, right? Give yourself a little medicine kit that you can put in to your locker. Because if you're feeling at all oh, I don't feel good, my head hurts, I feel nauseous, I feel whatever, you might as well have all that stuff so that during the break you can grab it. It's sitting right there for you. No big deal. We'll talk about what snacks and that kind of thing to take. But for now, you'll have your first day of school bag. You'll be packing it together. You'll have everything that you need, right? So you're ready for your first day. When you wake up, you throw it over your shoulder and off you go. So you'll get to the test center. You'll arrive at 9:30. And then what I like to do is I'm going to do my first cardio / physical activity. And yes, we are going to do cardio. That's another important piece of this. We're going to do some cardio because cardio helps with focus and it helps us calm down. It helps us kind of flush out the fight or flight response. And so we need to incorporate a fair amount of cardio the day of the test, both before and during, and even better, a little after as well. So we'll do our first like cardio, physical movement to the degree that you can. Typically for me, this involves some fresh air. So I'm going to, if it's a nice day out, I'll walk around the building. So maybe I'll walk around the building, or I'll go up and down the stairs if the weather's not great. I get some nice fresh breath, fresh air. I'm going to spend anywhere from, I would say, 5 to 8 minutes kind of moving around. In the middle of this, I will then bring either a couple of questions ripped out of the official guide, or written down on an index card. And so I'll do a little bit of walking, and then halfway through, I try 1 to 2 problems from whatever section I'm doing first. Okay, so if you're going to do verbal first, grab a sentence correction question and maybe a critical reasoning question. These should not be new. These should be questions that you've done before. None of this is new. It's just what you've done before. Okay. So you're going to walk around the building, set a little timer for yourself, and just keep breathing. As you're walking around the building, the first half of your walk may just be like slow, easy, deep breaths. You're going to be telling yourself positive affirmations. What that means is, what are the things I am going to do? I am going to enjoy myself. I am going to keep breathing. I am going to be proud of myself for showing up. I am going to take a breath when a question is hard and realize that I'm supposed to let it go. I'm going to remind myself that I will get things wrong. That's the point, right? So I'm going to, at all turns, keep patting myself on the back. I'm proud of me. I've worked hard. This test is difficult. Not everybody is up to the challenge, and I am. Right? So positive in the sense of you're saying things that are true as opposed to saying things that you will not do. Okay, so we say, I will do this. I am this. I try to avoid like, I won't do. I am not. Right? I try to use that more positive language because it gives me something to latch on to. If I say things like, don't freak out, like, well, what does that mean? What am I supposed to do then? I might as well just say, breathe, remember that you're allowed to be calm, right? Whatever the case may be. So as I'm moving my first, let's call it 3 to 4 minutes, I'm kind of breathing slowly, and I'm reminding myself of all the hard work I've put in and how proud I am. Because we can't learn everything, and we don't have time to do everything. And, you know, who cares if you didn't get to whatever chapter or whatever thing? It's fine. It doesn't matter. I promise. So we're going to be proud of ourselves. We're going to do a couple of laps. Then what we'll do is start in on some serious cardio. So it doesn't need to be long. I want 20 to 60 seconds. So if it's high knee kicks or if it's jumping jacks, that's my favorite one. If you're inside and it's like up and down a step, so like you could step up 3 steps, down the 2, up 3, down the 2. So anything that's like big quad movement, you're trying to get your heart pounding up to like 80% of your like max. You're trying to get your heart pounding for 60 seconds if you can do it. And if you can hit 2 minutes, that's fine, without feeling like you're gross and sweaty and upset, right? But you want to get your heart pounding. Okay, so you're going to get your heart pounding, and then you'll bring that back down. You'll take a breath. You'll do another couple of easy breathing, kind of either up and down the stairs or walking around. So another couple of minutes. Look at your second problem. So you look at your first one, look at your second one, take some deep breaths, and then try and do another, just set a 60-second timer for some jumping jacks. So over the course of this, let's call it, I'll actually say, let me switch this. I'll call this, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes. So in this 8 to 10 minutes, you'll do, so here's the breakdown. I like 3-minute walk plus positive affirmations. And then you'll do 1 minute problem you've done before. You're just kind of reading it and reminding yourself, so you don't need the 2-3 minutes to do it. You're just kind of looking over it and reminding yourself like why certain answers were wrong, why some were right, whatever. And then you're going to do 1 minute cardio. So this would be, you know, jumping jacks, stair up and down the steps, or up and down a big step up, step down, high knee kicks, etc. Then you'll do another, let's call it like 2 to 3 minute walk, plus, affirmations again. Same ones, just nice, easy breathing. Then you'll do 1 minute your second problem. If you're doing quant first, this would just be a quant problem that, again, you've done before. It should be low to middle level difficulty and something that you're very comfortable with. So 1 minute on your second problem, and then 1 more minute cardio. Same thing you did before, right? You're getting your heart rate up. Okay. Ideally, again, if the weather's okay, you're outside getting fresh air. If anyone looks at you like you're crazy, good, because you just spent how many hundreds of dollars to take this exam? Treat it like a spa day. You can do whatever you want. You can do anything you want. You spent the money. Yeah. Also, the jumping jacks really do help. My students keep reporting back like insanely positive things from now incorporating jumping jacks into their routine. Okay, so we get there at 9:30. This will be my first 10-ish minutes. I haven't even gone into the building at this point. I mean, maybe, but like for the most part, my stuff's in my car. And so I've left it in the car. I'm doing my sort of exercises. If I've already taken my belongings inside because it's raining and gross, then I might go in and ask if I can put my stuff in my locker, but that I've got some, cardio and walking around to do. And then I'll be back. So I'm like kind of pacing the hallway inside the building or the test center, whatever the case may be. Okay. So I've done my first cardio, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm going to go check in. So at this point at the check-in, if I haven't already, I'm putting everything in my locker. So get your locker key, which is what they'll give you. They'll sign you in. They'll give you your locker key. And what you'll do is pretend that you are setting up your locker at the first day of school. So your first day of school bag is going to get shoved to the very back of the locker. That should have your phone, your keys, anything inside of it, even if it's just like a shopping bag, right? Like a grocery plastic bag, it doesn't matter. But anything that you're taking in with you, like wallet, again, keys, phone, anything that you do not want to touch during the exam. Okay, so you'll pull your ID or your driver's license out. You'll have your printout so that you can show them. And then what you'll do is you'll take that bag with the things that you don't want to touch and you'll shove it to the back of the locker. And in the front of the locker, you are going to set out your snacks and your medicine cabinet stuff. You're going to set it out beautifully as if you're literally setting up a medicine cabinet. So you'll set up your medicine cabinet and snack center, right? So this is where during the break, I know exactly where, here are my savory snacks. Here's my sweet snacks. Here is my small thing of like iced coffee. And here's the thing of juice that I really like, whatever. Here's the sparkling water. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Whatever you're feeling like. You'll have that all set up for you, your little snack and med cabinet center. You should not have to open anything to get to those things. They should be sitting in front of you. Because if you have to go into a bag and start opening things, you run the risk of touching your phone or touching anything else that might be seen as contraband, and they can and will cancel your score if they think that you're poking around in material you're not supposed to. So anything you're not supposed to touch, like the questions that you tried from the beginning, ball them up and shove them into the back of that bag with the phone, with anything that you are not going to touch, okay? So you check in, you get your locker key, you set up your little medicine cabinet and snack center, you shove all contraband to the back of your locker, right? All contraband to the back of the locker in a bag of some sort. You will then keep on you your light jacket, your driver's license, your locker key, and maybe your printout. They may tell you don't need it anymore, but you will carry around with you. You'll be responsible for your driver's license or ID and your locker key. I always also bring like a thin sweater. You can't have it in your lap, but if you take it on and off, you can hang it over the back of your chair. That's allowed. Note that you are not going to be allowed to wear any hats or head coverings unless they are religious in nature. You cannot wear any jewelry other than religious or wedding, right? That's the only jewelry you're allowed. No other rings, no other watches. I don't know that I've been asked to take my earrings out, but I haven't always worn earrings. So now just don't wear them if you can help it. I will say my nose is pierced and they've never asked me to take that out. If you wear glasses, then you'll need to take them off and show them. So I wear contact lenses, but on test day, I take my glasses because I don't want to deal with the contact lens headache business. I just want my glasses on. That said, at the test center, I get to choose if I want noise canceling is a stretch, but if I want some noise canceling headphones or earplugs, because I wear glasses, the arms of my glasses interfere with the headphones. It gives me a headache. So I train myself to wear earplugs. So if you are not accustomed to wearing earplugs, you should now, 2 weeks out, also start wearing earplugs. So what else are we doing this week of, the week of your kind of getting set up? You are getting accustomed. So you will be practicing the way you will be taking the test. So that might be with earplugs. If you're taking it in a test center, no drink on your desk. So while you're studying and prepping and taking practice tests, no food or drink or snacks on your desk. So no drinks, no snacks. We don't often think about what a nervous habit it is to be able to crunch on something, ice, gum, water while we're studying, and we're not going to be able to do those things in the test center. At home, if you take it at home, you can have a clear glass of a liquid, but that's it. So again, if you're taking it in the test center, from here on out, those last 2 to 3 weeks, you should be doing your study just like the real test. And if you hate earplugs, I get it. They're not the most fun. Do go online and look for instructions for how to get them in nicely. The trick, by the way, I make my students practice, is if you take your arm, and if I want to put an earplug in my left ear, I take my right hand, and instead of doing this, I take my right hand around, and you grab the side of your ear, this little corner at the top, and you pull it up and back, and then put your earplug in. You'll see that it makes a huge difference. They become wildly more comfortable that way. So practice with your earplugs. I know this probably sounds crazy, but practice with your earplugs. So all the little pieces, I'm going to be taking the test with glasses or with contacts, with earplugs or with headphones, with a snack. Nope, can't have a snack, right? All the things. With the little jacket I'm going to wear, with the clothes that I think are comfortable, or the type of clothes that I will find comfortable. If you normally do all your studying in pajamas, but you do not feel comfortable wearing your pajamas to the test center, which why not? I would wear them. Make sure that you're taking your practice test in whatever leisure wear is comfortable and that you would wear to the test center. Yeah. Okay. So you're going to get to your test center, check in, get your locker key, set up your medicine cabinet, and then you are going to take one final trip to the bathroom before you log in. So this is a bathroom and just like breathing break. So the bathroom, just like mom always says, try. As you're there, nice, easy, slow, deep breaths. Cold water on your face. So we're looking for nervous system regulation. There are a lot of different things that regulate our nervous system. Exercise is the fastest. And so that's why I'm going to include that. Cardio, if you can get physical movement and vigorous movement, that is one of the fastest ways to regulate your nervous system. Cold temperatures, particularly on face, hands, ears, and feet, are another way of regulating your nervous system. And breathing are the 3 main ways that you have control of in and around your test. Okay, cold water on your face, slow, easy breathing, cardio. Now you've done all your cardio, kind of getting logged in. Cardio does several things for you. So one thing that cardio does is it helps really push this nervous system regulation from your sympathetic fight or flight response, from getting up and maybe running a little late and trying to pack everything up and getting in the car and who knows if there was traffic and finding a place to park and all the things, or just a crappy week at work or a bad night's sleep or a fight you had with a partner or a family member or a coworker or whatever. All these things are totally likely to happen in the week before the exam. So what we need is when those adrenaline pieces kick up, what we've got to do is we've got to complete the cycle of sympathetic to parasympathetic. So sympathetic is our fight or flight. parasympathetic is our rest and digest. And so in order to help facilitate the movement to rest and digest, which again, movement towards, we're not going to be rest and digesty during the middle of the exam. It's just, it's not going to happen. So we're moving rest and digest that direction. The three biggest things that we can use: cardio, temperature, breathing. And we're going to use them all. So cardio can help us move in the direction of rest or digest. Cardio also helps increase levels of dopamine. And what's so nice about increased levels of dopamine, and serotonin for that matter, is that we get more focus. So not only am I moving out of the more frantic fight or flight, so I'm moving towards rest and digest, but I'm moving towards rest and digest with increased focus and attentiveness and alertness. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a sense of calm alertness, right? So often what happens is sympathetic nervous system, the agitation happens. So we are definitely like alert, but we are often alert and agitated. And what we want is alert and calm. And cardio is the fastest way to get us there. So the cardio will get us there. Cold water to kind of continue regulation. And then we're going to keep breathing. And I want you counting, like, okay, I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. I can count them if I need to. 1 in and 1 out, and 2 in and 2, right? We are connecting with our breath. All of these things should be happening every time you're going to study in the 2 to 3 weeks before the exam. You're starting to train your body that it craves a minute or 2 minutes of cardio. It craves cool water on your face and on your hands, and it craves easy breaths. It craves those things enough that it will ask you for them, right? It won't let you not do them. Okay. So you'll take your quick bathroom break, try cold water on your face, easy breathing, and then you'll log in. Once you log in, you'll start the test. You'll have to go through all the like initial screens where you fill things out. Just keep breathing, and then the test will begin. It's going to be stressful. That's cool. If we think about what makes us anxious or what gives us stress, it's a good thing, because stress and anxiety point us towards what's important. And so we only stress about things that are important. So at least it's reminding me like, oh, this is really important to me. Okay, that's good to know. Just in case I wasn't aware of how important this is to me, it is. So we'll have our first section. You're going to breathe. You're going to do your best. Okay. So then we'll come out from the first one. And so at this point, right, your test would have started at around 10 o'clock. So let me add that. So 10 a.m. test begins. Technically, you could probably start a little bit early. Based on all of this, you'd likely be able to start the test anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes early if you really wanted to. But let's say test begins at 10 a.m. So you'll have all those intro screens and some instructions and fill that out. It takes a few minutes and the test begins in earnest. If you're starting with verbal, you'll have just over 60 minutes. So our next big benchmark would be a break at roughly, let's call it 11 o'clock, right? So at 11 a.m., you'll get your first break. What I do for my break is as follows. I come out of the room once I get signed out. We only have about 5 minutes. I go immediately to the bathroom. I do jumping jacks on the way to the bathroom, so I should write it that way. I got to get the jitters of that section out. I got to get them out as fast as possible. So I've got to really close that stress response as quickly as possible, right? So if we think about a stress response as a wave, it comes in and then it goes. If we fight the stress response, we just keep getting pounded by the wave. And like, that's not really helpful. The wave is coming. I can't hold it back. Imagine holding like a raft, right? And so if I'm trying to go out into the ocean and I've got this stiff raft or like surfboard and I'm coming flat at every wave with it, I'm just going to keep getting knocked down. What I need to do is just kind of like rock it over and sort of ride it across. But what has to happen is I'm going to come up, but I need to ride down the other side. That's what cardio is giving me. It's giving me the opportunity, breath and cardio, to come down the other side of that big emotional wave. So I'm going to do jumping jacks on the way to the bathroom. Once I get to the bathroom, I'm going to splash cold water on my face. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to go to the bathroom and start with cold water. Then I'm going to use the restroom. So I've splashed some cold water. So I've already started the process of cardio and cold water. I'm going to use the restroom. I'm going to breathe while I'm doing it, right? I'm trying to combine things here, but we're breathing. And then, of course, I will wash my hands, cold water again. So cold water on my face again. And then I don't necessarily do jumping jacks on the way back. My jumping jacks on the way to the bathroom are typically enough. By the time I'm coming back from the bathroom, I'm wanting to breathe. Okay. Then what I'll do is when I get back to the room, I'm going to grab my snack of choice. And so you're going to bring some options. Bring some sweet options, some savory options, some crunchy options, some creamy options. Right? You want something that satisfies whatever oral fixation that you have at the moment. Do you want something cold? Do you want something hot? Do you want something crunchy? Right? Do you want crackers, chips, or do you want, sugary, Twizzlery type things, like whatever. Bring things that you typically like in those stressful situations. How will you know what that is? Think about what snacks you crave when you're studying and taking practice exams, right? Because you don't get to have it on your desk. As soon as you stand up from your practice exam, ask yourself, like, what do I want right now? Do I want like some cheese or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I always bring peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's like my go-to. What do you want? A couple bites of that. So I'll grab my snack of choice. And then this is going to sound nuts, but I sit on the floor, if that's accessible to you, and eat and stretch. And so the things I'm going to stretch: neck, shoulders, side, upper back, and front of hips. Okay. So how do I stretch those things? So as I'm snacking, we'll do one stretch together. So sit a little taller. Okay. You'll take your right hand. You're going to take it up and over your head like it's sitting on top. Just like that thing I was showing you to do about grabbing your ear. You're going to take it up and over on top. Let your fingers kind of find your left temple or your left ear. You're going to take a big breath in so you can get tall. And as you exhale, you're not pulling, you're just gently encouraging your right ear over to your right shoulder. Yeah, just a little bit. Now your left hand can just sit in your lap, or if you'd like a little more stretch, you can take your fingers and sort of point them down. So if you're sitting on the floor, you can just touch your fingers to the floor. That's usually enough. You'll take a breath in, and then let your ear just feel heavier towards your shoulder. You're just trying to stretch along the side of the neck. Usually when we're stressed out, we tend to have our shoulders kind of like jacked up into our ears. Okay, take one more breath. Let it go. Now, before you move your head, keep it where it is. Crawl your little fingers over to your temple and put your head back on for you. Little shake, little spin it out. And then let's do the other side. Sit really tall, take your arm up, over and over. And slowly just kind of let it rest. You're not pulling. This is just a little bit of a light suggestion in that direction. If this is enough of a stretch to feel good, leave it. If you'd like a little bit more, you can take that right hand and sort of point it down towards the floor, or just kind of press and stretch like this shoulder down. So you'll take another breath in. And just easy, let it go. One more of those, big breath in. And easy, let it go. Nice. So you'll take your fingers, put your head back on, a little bit of spin. Usually what I'll do is, I'll have done that while I'm like drinking my drink. Usually I like to have like a little straw with me, or I'll eat my snack, whatever the case may be. I've rolled my head and neck a little bit. So now I'll let my head come forward. So you can do that with me. And then you'll kind of rock it over to the left. You're trying to get a stretch along the back of the right side. Kind of slowly through the center, stretch it over to the right. Looking for a little stretch. Have another sip of your drink or your snack. Take your arms out wide and it's a big stretch back. Maybe you put them behind your head like you're on a headrest. Some like tilts, nothing too complicated. Some twists to one side and the other. Again, just nice, light, gentle. You're kind of stretching. Imagine that you're just trying to stretch your spine in a bunch of different directions, right? All the directions. Okay, so you'll be snacking while you do that. Nothing too fancy, taking breaths. The last thing you'll do, the last stretch I do, is when I stand up and go over to my locker to put my stuff away, I do like a front of my hip stretch. So tip, I always try and choose, if there is one, a locker that's on the bottom, not on the top. And why is because when I open my locker door, I go down and I take one knee. So I'm on one knee with my other foot on the floor. And I just imagine kind of like scooping my hips under so I can stretch the front of my thigh. It's like a runner's stretch, right? I'm just trying to get kind of a quad or front of my hip stretch, switch legs, do that, put my stuff in my locker, close it up. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to soften everything that has gotten tight. So as I'm stressed, my shoulders come up, I get hunched and rounded forward. I'm sitting in a chair, so my hips are all pressed in. Our fight or flight muscle is our psoas. That's the muscle that like puts us into a fetal position. So there's a reason why when we get stressed out, everything starts to hug in, because we're trying to get fetal, because we're scared that the tiger's got us, and so we're just gonna like play dead into a little bitty ball. So we're trying to like open all those things up. If you've got access to a wall while you're sitting there having your snack, you can put one arm on the wall and do that thing where you turn, so you can open up your chest, right? Just play with various stretches during your practice over the 2 to 3 weeks between now and test day. Yeah, lots and lots of stretches. So sit on the floor, eat your snack, do some stretches, put your stuff away. You'll go back into the test center. The test will then start again. We'll have one, let's call it at 11:08 a.m. So while you're practicing out in the world the next 2 weeks, you will get up at the same time you normally will. If you like to have breakfast or exercise in the morning, you will do those things on the schedule you plan to do the morning of the exam. You will then plan to practice some questions at your very first start, so at 10 a.m. So every day for the week to 2 weeks before the exam, you'll do a practice question or two at 10 a.m. So you feel what, like, okay, my brain turns on at 10 a.m. or 9:45, what have you. You'll then make sure that you have snacks at 11 a.m. Right? So on any normal day, have your snacks with you. You're reminding your body that like, okay, I like a snack at 11 a.m. Perfect. So that I'm not feeling like weird and nauseous and strange. I'm like, my body's ready to eat something. So I go back in, and so, sorry, not break, but like test starts up again at 11:08, and then I have another hour and 10 minutes or so to move through the next section. If you're doing quant, it'll be exactly an hour to move through the next section. You'll then get another break. This time the break will be at roughly 12-ish p.m. So we'll say like 12:10 p.m. and this will be the same as above, just like the last one, right? Just like the last break. And then you'll come back from that break. So the test back into your last hour, you'll come back in at around, let's just call it 12:20 for lack of, being too creative. It really be like 12:28. And then you have one more hour. So you'll be done at around 2:20, 2:30, assuming that all the sign in and then, all that stuff, right? Because if your test really starts at 10, this first break won't actually be until probably like 11:15. You'll come back at like 11:22. You won't then take your next break until 12:25-ish. And then you'll be leaving. You'll like take that break from 12:25. You'll go back in at like 12:32 p.m. And then you'll have that section for another hour. And so you'll come out at, whatever that is, 1:40. So about 1:40, you're done. There's your about 4 hours, right, in the test center and all this sort of things. Okay, so this would be your time during the test center. We got lots of cardio happening. We got snacks. We're here like having a good old time, right? All the stretches, the snacks, the cold water. We're here to party. We're here at the spa day. Look at us go, spa day. Yep. Okay, so let's back it up then, because we need to practice this routine. So generally for the 2 weeks before the exam, what I do is I take a practice exam each week leading up to it. So this will be a practice exam, and so will this. This will also be a practice exam. If you are using like our exams or any kind of exams that have full review and explanation and that kind of thing, then you'd probably do that on the 28th. So this coming Saturday. And then the 1 week out is usually when I take an official practice exam. Why? Because official practice exams tend to make my score look a little better. And so that kind of pumps me up for going into the test. So I'll use that. The big key to these practice exams is that you need to make them mocks of the real thing. Take the whole test, take it at the time you plan to take it, and then do the whole day just like you would. So I had a student who took a practice exam 2 weeks out from her real exam, ate a big breakfast, and then the stress of the practice exam made her so sick that she had to stop mid-section and go handle the nausea. which might sound crazy, but that fight or flight response, right? That sympathetic nervous system actually speaks to our enteric nervous system, which is our gut brain. And so there's a reason why when stuff is really, really stressful or very exciting, we often respond with things like butterflies in our stomach, or we feel nauseous, or we feel like our stomach is rolling. Some people do get like gastrointestinal distress in a variety of different ways based on what's happening with their stress. So the 2 practice exams before the official one is your opportunity to figure out big meal, small meal. What types of snacks? No cheese? Okay, no cheese it is. Coffee? Nope, no coffee. Okay, no coffee. Right? Like, so you want to be figuring out, and I know it sounds a little gruesome, but you want to be figuring out not just this circadian rhythm, but your sleep, your hunger, right? And this whole gastrointestinal system. You want to get it all sorted out. Right? So I want to be going to bed at the same time. I want to be waking up at the same time, and so on. Because if the day or 2 before the exam are particularly stressful and crummy, and so I don't get the best night's sleep, if I'm already on a really solid rhythm, I'm probably coming in with a good amount of sleep, and I'm helping my body get me to sleep even if I'm stressed out. So how can I start to get my circadian rhythms right in place? So this is where I really want to do my, and I'll kind of just drop this in here. The thing I want to start to do is that I want to get as much light as possible, natural if possible, as much light as possible into my eyeballs, my literal eyeballs, from outside, like being actually outside, at my morning, right? Within the first, let's call it 90 minutes of being awake. So if you want to wake up earlier, get more and more light into your eyeballs as the second you wake up. Get outside, not through a window, get all the way outside and let as much light as is comfortable into your eyeballs. Get out and move yourself. And so maybe walk through your yard or walk around your house or walk around your building or walk up and down your block. Much light in your eyeballs as possible within the first 90 minutes. So even if it's a bright day, we're talking 5 minutes. If it's an overcast day, all right, maybe stay outside for like 20 minutes. And then turn on every light in your house, right? If you have to go straight into an office in the morning or because of caring for others, you can't be outside right when you wake up, put on every bright light you have. Here, open them all, everything. Okay, the next piece of this is that you would like to get as much light as possible, as much sunset light as possible into your eyeballs. The like 60 to 90 minutes around sunset. It triggers to our brain to start to settle down. And in fact, if we can get that sunset light where the blue is sort of fading into that like reddishy orange, because it literally is, the color spectrum is changing from in the morning. There's a certain color spectrum that alerts our brain to think like, oh my gosh, I need to wake up. There's another color spectrum that tells our body like, oh, we should really start producing more melatonin. We're going to want to go to bed soon. So we want to see that PM light. And we want to get out there. So if you can set a timer for sunset for 30 minutes before sunset and get yourself outside and, take some deep breaths and just enjoy being outside, because y'all, it's spring and headed into summer in a lot of areas of the world. It's really nice right now. So get yourself outside, get some of that sunlight. What they're finding is seeing that late afternoon sunlight can actually protect us from the detrimental effects of that bright light and blue light that we get from looking at computer screens in the evening. Now, the 2 to 3 weeks before the exam, we are going to try and minimize. So we're going to try and dim the light as the evening progresses. It doesn't matter if it's blue. All of that silliness about blue light or, wear your blue light blocker glasses. You don't need to do anything fancy. Nothing like that. What you just want to do is get light to be dimmer. So start to turn off some of the lights, and you want to avoid overhead light as much as possible. So right now I have one lamp that's above me and a couple of lamps that are lower. So as the day progresses, my higher lamp needs to come off. overhead, like directly overhead light, ideally I will not use it. So things that are lower, because we're going to think about us as humans, right? Early man, if we saw, or early human, if we saw light overhead, it was the sun, it meant it was daytime. So we want light to be lower, like firelight. That didn't really affect us much. Turns out that the receptors that control a lot of our sleep and wake are on the bottom of our eyeballs looking for light above us. So if our light is below us, it doesn't have as big of an impact. So we're going to avoid overhead light. We're going to start getting things dim and dim and dim. And ideally, we are minimizing the light that we see after, let's call it 10 p.m., which I get it. That's hard for me. I teach until 11 o'clock most nights, right? I might have some TV on because I'm stressed. I'm like looking at my phone. So it happens. We're just trying to minimize it in the week or two before the exam, right? No punishing, just, even if it's 5 minutes fewer, then great, 5 minutes fewer. Okay. So we're working on our sleep. We're trying to wake up. Good things if you struggle to sleep, apps like the Calm app that can like play background noise or have, sleep stories and what have you, let those run. Anything that you can start to do to get your bedtime routine. Things like warm showers in the evening can help you fall asleep because they help to decrease your internal temperature, which is what we want, keeping your room cold. So crank down AC, load on blankets if you need to, but anything to keep yourself cold overnight helps you sleep better. In the morning, a really cold shower can help increase your internal body temperature, which can wake you up. So that can be another kind of take a warm shower before bed or take a cold shower first thing in the morning. But you're trying to get that circadian rhythm and your like sleep cycles and your hunger cycles. You're trying to get those in order because that's just so good for stress. Right? And that's what we're working on. We're working on trying to minimize our stress response from the rest of life because you better believe the test is going to be stressful. While we're at the test, we are going to be minimizing our stress response by doing things like cardio and breathing and cold ice. Okay. So in terms of actual studying, which many of you are probably like, wait, you haven't even told me what to study. Here's what I'll say. The day or two before the exam, right? So these couple of days in here, you are going to do very little. My instructions for most of my students are that you only do so much. I'm going to even type this out because it sounds strange when I say it. Do only enough so that you don't stress out about doing nothing. Right? So you're doing just enough to keep yourself from thinking that you're not doing anything. So this should all be like flashcards, easy, simple drilling. If you have our Foundations of Math book, that's a great thing to drill. It's free, by the way. You can get that on our Amazon store. Drills out of the Foundations of Math book. You're working on, again, basics. Nothing new, nothing difficult. Keep it simple. Starting after this second practice exam, so you can do a review, but basically from this moment forward, so if your exam's on the 11th, come the 30th, which here in the US is Memorial Day, starting on the 30th, my rule is no new information. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do new questions. You can't take practice tests, right? Obviously, you are taking one. What you can't do is decide, I never really studied combinatorics. I'm going to go do that now. I never really learned about 3D geometry. I'm going to go do that now. You know what I didn't do? I never did overlapping sets. Now is the time. No, it is not. No, sir, no, ma'am. It is not. The time for that is gone. Why? Is it because those things aren't important? No, that has nothing to do with it. The time is gone because anything you try to learn, in these 2 weeks, you will not know it well enough to help you on test day. If anything, you will only know it enough for it to look familiar and then trick you into thinking you should waste your time on it. And that's the problem. I do not want to confuse my poor feeble brain at all on test day. I want my brain to know Whitney knows these things and knows how to do them. And Whitney does not know these things and she does not know how to do them. Because on test day, I'm going to be behind. Everybody gets a little bit behind here and there. And so the only way I'm going to be able to stay on time is to have things that I can see and think, oh my gosh, I have no idea. And skip it, right? D, and move to the next one. So ideally, I'm happy about having a few things that I have no idea how to do because I will need to guess on a handful of questions so that I can stay on time. So no new information. Everything from this moment on, this practice exam, this 528 practice exam, everything from that moment on is practicing your way of being. Okay, so let me sort of say that again. This is all about practicing your way of being. So the things that are under your control, practice your ways of being. So what are your ways of being? Well, your ways of being are things like how you exercise, how you sleep, how you snack, how you show up for the test. Do you show up and like actually carve out space around the practice test? You're not doing 6 things all at the same time. You're sitting down and actually taking the practice test. Are you practicing the strategies of things like writing down everything? Or maybe you've been practicing estimation or practicing working from the answer choices, like work backwards. Have you been practicing using plugging in smart numbers? If you are watching this through YouTube, like go down to our channel. Our GMAT free prep hours have hundreds of hours of videos on pure strategies. So you can work on strategies that you've already learned to improve them, to perfect them. You can work on content that you already know to polish, right? You are going to improve what you have control over. You're going to work on timing. So maybe timed set practice. You're going to work on setting a timer so you can see, set a timer like a stopwatch, flip it over, and can you guess when a minute's gone by? So you're going to test that inner pace or that inner metronome. So for these 2 weeks, on basically at this moment, on the night before this practice exam, you are going to say, here's what I want exam day to look like. And that has nothing to do with your score. That has nothing to do with how many questions you're going to get right. The way you want exam day to look is what is under your control. So snack, breathing, exercise. What are you going to do when you notice you're behind? So what is your timing plan? What sorts of strategies do you want to try and employ whenever you can? Right? Like those are things that are under your control. So on Friday, you're going to assess, this is what I want. Here's the snacks I want. Here's the light jacket I'm going to wear, right? Like here's all the things. You will take the practice exam on Saturday with an eye towards that. This is what I want to cover, right? Like this is how I want to be. This is how I want to show up on test day. And so you'll practice that on this Saturday. Depending on how that goes, you will reflect on that on Sunday. What went well? What didn't go as planned, but it was okay? What didn't go as planned and you'd like to shift things a little bit? Maybe that snack wasn't great and maybe that jacket wasn't great and maybe the cardio, jumping jacks weren't the thing. I need new cardio. I'm going to do planks because plank gets my heart rate up. Whatever, I don't care, right? But you're going to look at how it went and you're going to evaluate it. You're going to sit back and go, okay, what do I think? You will examine how you want your test to go. You will work on that and work on drills that help you get there. Time sets, cardio, moving through more free prep hours, working with your tutor, your teacher, whoever it is that you're working with, reviewing topics that you did several weeks ago, but it's been a little while, but you felt good about them. Looking through your formulas and practicing any flashcards that you've made. You will then again on the Friday before this practice exam sort of get clear. What are my goals? What are my plans? And this is not score and number of question right. Goals have to be measurable and within your control. Your score is not within your control. Like the way that GMAT works, it's not. So you have to decide, what's my way of being? How can I show up for myself on this test? You'll then take your practice test on Saturday. Dry run number 2, right? Like same snack, the whole thing. And then on this Sunday, it's a final check-in. How did it go? Is this something I can sustain? I had wanted to do X, but I wasn't able to do it last week or this week. Could I do something different? Right? Can I put some other plan in place? Because that's nothing I can do. Yeah. So that'll be this last kind of piece right here. Over these last 2 to 3 days, we're talking polishing, very little, and it's like a tapering off. If you take days off from work, You are only taking days off from work to rest. I will say that often taking full days off from work doesn't help people rest. What might be better is instead of taking multiple days off work, take just the one day off work, or take 2 half days so that you don't get like loaded up with work and then end up having to leave work late the night before. Some people sign up for tests on Mondays. I think that that's okay. But usually people stress out a lot by not being able to do any studying the weekend before. So if you are taking a test on Monday, you're allowed to study on Saturday until around 2 o'clock. And then you have to take the Saturday, Sunday off, that kind of thing. But ideally, you're doing very little lifting the day before the exam. You're trying to set your personal best. You're trying to set that PR on exam day. Like, don't blow out your knee the day before. Right? So you want your best performance to be on test day, not the day before. So the more you keep pushing, trying to get that highest score on a practice test, the more you're draining yourself for the real thing. I'd rather you have scores on these 2 practice tests that are below your target and still go take it than keep cramming and just making things worse. So 2 to 3 weeks before the exam, you are beginning to figure out who you need to be on test day to be at your best, whatever that means in terms of what you've had time to study for. You will not have had a chance to study everything. There will always be information. There'll always be more that could be studied or done, right? So we're just trying to get us as crystal as possible so that everything that we do know and that we have learned and like our experience can shine through as best as possible, right? We are trying to get our heads right. We're trying to get what I call the 3 R's, like the 3 rests. So I want to be emotionally rested. I want to be physically rested, and I want to be mentally rested, right? So I don't want to be overstudying. I also don't want to be stressing myself out in a whole bunch of other interactions with people if I can help it. And I'd really like to get some physical care. I'm eating food that I like and makes me feel good, whatever that means. There's no such thing as like, oh, you should eat this kind of brain food. Whatever. Eat what makes you happy, right? Eat what makes you feel nourished and good. Hang out with people who make you happy and make you feel nourished and good. Do the things that your body needs, like sleep and exercise, right? All of these are the things that you want to be doing leading up to your exam. Yeah? And then go in and have like the best spa day ever, right? Ever, doing all your cardio and your snacks and all the things. Yeah. And then that's it. You'll take a breath. Go ahead and know that you are going to do your best, that I'm proud of you. You should be proud of you, right? Your family, friends, everybody else is going to be proud of you, no matter how it goes. And enjoy. Yeah. And that's it. That's Whitney's turn the test into an event. If you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat window. But that is about it for how to organize yourself on the test, how to get your head right in the week to 2 weeks before the exam. So I hope that helped. And thank you for sticking around for this. I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. And if you are ever in the need of more free prep hours, right, and you're looking at us through YouTube, go to the menu below, click on our Manhattan GMAT site and look for more free prep hours. You can also come to our website. Anywhere on our manhattanprep.com, also linked down below, you can sign up for free practice exams, a free starter kit. You can get our free Foundations of Math course and our book, and you can come sit in on any session 1 trial for free. So you can always come and check out a class with us and see how it's going. Feel free to find us. You can come look me up on LinkedIn or find us on our site. We are always here to help should you need it. And otherwise, have an awesome night. Enjoy your test. Good luck. We're here for you.